your chair. Take it. Because I'm, getting you a little exercise. People who know me since the start of EGP so know that I like to activate you a little bit with some kind of exercise. And this maybe also be an exercise that some of you have experienced, but I know there are many who have not. So if you take the exercise and, maybe just everybody take it above your head. Above your head. Yes, that's like that. And why don't we fold it just once? Fold it once. And then maybe also second time. Let's fold it twice. And you have a nice piece. And then take the upper right corner and just turn a little piece off of it. Little piece, not too much. The upper right corner. And then fold it again. And then you will start to know it will become a little bit harder to turn off two pieces. But take from your upper right a little piece to tear it off. Let's see if I can get it done. And then also from the lower right, you tear off a piece. It's just a very brief exercise. But if you have done that, and now you unfold it, and then you compare with each other. How well have we listened? And this is not to say, I love the result. Thank you very much. So many different results. For me, this exercise is just an exercise of how important it is because, instructions were quite simple. Fold, fold, tear off, tear off, tear off. Not so hard to do, but with very different results. So it's very important to listen careful, to get good instructions. And these are the type of experience that, can you imagine if you write, if from science you design something that policymakers should adopt or that practitioners should adopt? Can you imagine how hard it is if we cannot even, as a nice common group, come to the same result for such a simple folding exercise? So, okay, we unite in diversity. I think that's a good thing. We have this afternoon one very interesting session to move forward, and I'm facilitating this. My name is Saskia Visser, for those of you who don't know me, and we have three interesting presentations. One starting, it's already, oh no, it's not in there. Starting EU policy towards soil health with Emmanuel Petel, and that is followed by a presentation on socioeconomic impacts and challenges of implementing sustainable practices. That will be given by Francesco Galliato from CREA. And that will be followed by an EGP soil presentation of Miriam Junius from SLU on fostering soil management practices and uptake. And then I'm very happy to have Anna, I'm sorry, your last name, Tretanero, is here to give us some perspectives and some reflections from, the practice of an Italian farmer in here. So, Emmanuel, the floor is yours, and you will have like 50 minutes.
Okay, 15 minutes. Okay, donc I'm Emmanuel Petel, donc I'm working in European Commission and I'm working in a department, DG Agri is the Department of Agriculture and Rural Development. And in our department, we are responsible for to design the common agricultural policy, but also to implement this common agricultural policy and to monitor the implementation of CAP. Just, okay, I will try to give you, maybe you are already familiar with this common agricultural policy, but I will come back on which context we have designed with current CAP from 23 until 27. I will explain the main instrument, what we have in this common agricultural policy to address environmental and climate issue concern. And I will give you some outcome of implementation and we'll raise some question how far we can go with the farmer, because everybody is aware there is some, I would say, protest from the farmer during the last month. And I will give you some view how we try to engage the future of the CAP, because the CAP, we need to negotiate the CAP each time, every, I would say, 5-6 years. We need to be aware when we negotiate is not the proposal is from the European Commission, but in fact we take time to propose something. We need to some assessment. We need to consult some stakeholders, and for me it's very important to be there because I have some more input in mind. More scientific evidence, and I insist on the fact on the role of such projects you manage. Just to remind the context in 2019, in 2019, yes, we had election, European Parliament election, and we had a new college, and in this college they designed a vision with through the Green Deal, and they provide some, I would say, relevant strategy, farm to fork or biodiversity strategy. And in this context, we need to discuss on the proposal of the Commission for the CAP. And we had already made a proposal in 2018. But due to this new vision, the common vision at EU level, we need to fine-tune our proposal. But in our proposal, it's important to say there is a basic act, and in a basic act there is a clear objective, specific objective. I insist on that because sometimes court auditors say, okay, you don't know where you are going. Here there is 9 objectives. Maybe we have to be less objective, but there is 3 main objectives as regards environmental aspect: climate change and climate mitigation, adaptation and mitigation, and an objective on the preservation of resources like soil, and an objective on biodiversity. We put that landscape. There is another objective on the social expectation, and inside of that we have animal welfare. We have as well the issue of pesticide. Just to explain how to address this objective via our tool. Just to remind, when we have some tool, we try to have a balance between a mandatory requirement and voluntary practice made by the farmer. But on the bottom here, you have, we call that a conditionality, is where you have a common requirement to be applied across Europe, is a sort of a baseline. And above this baseline, above conditionality, you have a different envelope in the budget. And there is an envelope, we call it eco scheme, another envelope under pillar 2 under the rural development. There is different possibility. The IECC here in the graph is agro-environmental commitment. You have as well some money when you are in an area specific disadvantage for some area, when you are under some policy, like a water policy. You have as well some area, national constraint area, where you have some constraint. You see there is a different possibility to address the concern for environmental aspect based on some extra support above basic support. I will insist here in this graph on the fact around this relevant instrument, mandatory or voluntary based some subsidy. We try to develop other scheme to, in fact, improve the knowledge exchange and dissemination of information. In our CAP, we have farmer advisory services. There is an obligation for member state to provide something for farmer, and we have normally there is support to to innovate to when to support when you have to provide advice for farmer or support to setting up advisory services. And we try to develop as well a knowledge transfer. I will insist, we have some specific provision is a European Innovation Partnership where we member state could disseminate some outcome from your research project via some group of farmers. We call that operational group. Just to say, around this mechanism to impose some requirement or to support more ambitious action for farmers, there is an environmental I would say, management to disseminate more information. Just to remind in which way we are working with member state, because it's not at Brussels level, it's not due to Brussels, we have some rule. We need to, in fact, discuss with member state. In our new CAP from 23-27, we have now a single CAP plan. In the past, it was some plan, but under rural development now, for all instruments and all budget of the CAP, member state has to design a single CAP plan. And before that, we work a lot with member state to identify, in fact, the need at member state level. And just to remind, even before the achievement of the negotiation for CAP, we provide some recommendation for all member states based on some data, available data, as regards some concern as regards the water quality, water, I would say, scarcity, or some soil aspect. We provide some recommendation for member state before designing their CAP plan. And in 2022, we spent 1 year to discuss with member state. We call that structured dialogue with member state, because member state notify their CAP plan, and there was a strong discussion inside of the Commission, inside the DG Agri, but it was collective discussion, because the discussion was in association with other DG Climat or DG Env. We have consulted GRC as well, just to show how we work. And we provide some observation letter for each member state to guide the member state how to design in a good way their CAP plan. After we can see the step, what will be in reality the CAP plan, how the CAP plan implemented, but we spend a lot of time for that. We should be aware in our directorate, we have this geographical unit to be in touch with member state, and there is a more horizontal unit for some topic like environmental and climate, and I am part of this unit in DG Agri. Just to remind now, after design of this approval of different CAP plan, we have, I would say, a picture of public expenditure, global picture. We can say there is 50% of, in fact, payment for income support for the farmer. This income support are linked with conditionality, and we have 32% of other support dedicated for more ambitious action via agro-environmental commitment or via some specific investment for environmental issue or for climate issue. And after, there is another diagram when we split the different action, but I will not go in detail in this breakdown, but just to see we have a good view how we use the money at EU level, and we could have this picture at member state level. Just to come back on conditionality, the first layer to be applied across Europe and to be defined by a member state. I will insist on that because it's a part of the discussion today due to the farmer protest. It's just to say we before designing a more ambitious action, we want to have a sort of baseline at EU level and to have a common view on some key element, and we have some standard. In our jargon is GAEC, GEC, and we have a 9 GEC. It's very technical, but it's not new. This GEC was introduced in more or less in 2005, 2008, and there is not new standard. But we have as well some an heritage of the previous instrument. I don't know if you are familiar with the greening scheme before 22. It was based on 3 practices. And we have still that under the GAEC. We introduce maybe a new, I would say, we reinforce some GAEC in this context. And I will point out the GAEC, maybe I need to, I don't know. I will point out the GAEC 6 is the minimum soil cover, and GAEC 7 crop rotation, and GAEC 8 is the fact we need to have a good, we have a share of arable land dedicated to the biodiversity. And this is a part of the discussion with farmer. But I will go next step to say above this GAEC, we are supposed to design some practices and via eco-scheme or via agroenvironment commitment. And here I put the list of practices and is a well-known practices, crop rotation, cover, catch crop, intercropping, no tillage, agroforestry is a labeling and is the first analysis, I would say. And we, in our CAP, we ask member states to classify their intervention via some result indicators. And there is some different type of result indicator, but there is a result indicator number 19 is on the soil improvement of the soil. And a lot of member states classify some relevant practices under these indicators. This indicator is the number of hectares compared with the total agricultural area in the member state. And here is an aggregate at EU level. And we can say there is 47% of some interventions, some measures dedicated to the soil. Is the first, say, indication. We have to go further step to see what we have behind this indicator and this classification. Just to say, we have already some breakdown per some, I would say, type of some type of support eco scheme, and here you see the different practices, and each time there is a soil management, fertilizer, and soil amendment, some issue on landscape feature. We have already some overview. Just to speed up a little bit, we need to go further step to analyze more in detail what member state has designed, and we will go step by step. There is different, I would say, deadline in our regulation, and we need to produce some evaluation and to see, in fact, how member states achieve environmental and climate commitment for Union based on what they have defined. And for us, it's important to go more in detail and to see in sometimes there is a good labeling, good classification, but what we have behind, what kind of practice member state has designed. Because if you talk about crop rotation or crop diversification, what is crop diversification? Just for the next reflection, but you, as you have observed, we are in fact. And it was already mentioned, we need to share our vision with the farmer. And for me, we need to have a member state, but we need to have maybe your scientific. But I think I need to have a support from Farmer Union to explain why we have a fixed objective in CAP. But farmers are in sometimes in not so good position, and it was expressed. It's not due to only we need to increase productivity, but we need to increase the profitability. I think we need to further explain why environmental aspect and climate adaptation could contribute to profitability, but because farmer has already expressed, in fact, they are in not a good shape because there is a decrease of agricultural price and there is a variability of price. There is a lack of sharing of add value across the food chain. I put here the list of what farmer claim, and after there is each time difficulty to implement some standard. And here, in fact, the Commission addressed first reply by some simplification in conditionality. But we don't need to lose, in fact, the purpose of this conditionality and the green architecture. And we should be explained why we are going in this direction. But in conditionality, we, for example, we simplify some GAEC, like the obligation to have a share of arable land dedicated to biodiversity. Maybe it will not be an obligation. We will have a support when farmer will put some fallow land or to put new landscape feature. And we ask member state to have some eco scheme for that. For the future, I will to explain where we are. We have, in fact, I think, structured dialogue, but there is I would say, a specific forum for that at high level. But besides that, there is internal brainstorming in our DG Agri between different colleagues, and we have made some different topic, food security, food resilience, resilience. We have talk about sustainability, the governance. Donc, we are aware on the fact we need to communicate in better way for the profitability, but we need to address the environmental issue. And for us, it's important to continue and to have for the future to at the Commission level to have a good synergy between CAP and other initiatives, not to avoid some overlap. And as far as I see for soil monitoring law, it will be the case because, in fact, in soil monitoring law, we'll request some, we require for some member state to do some an intervention depending on the results of the monitoring. But we will consider first what member states have done under the CAP. There is no is completely complementarity and synergy, and we want to go in this direction. We need for the future each time to discuss with member states how to target the practices and how to define the requirement and to address the need. And for me, I will insist on that because member states want to stick on the regulation, what is written in the regulation, but we are losing time for that. The time is just to address the issue. Donc, for that, we need to have a data. We need to have a territorial data, and we have already data, but we need to progress on this sense, and we expect to have more data via the soil monitoring law and via the work done by your project. And for the future, maybe our instrument is still a discussion with member states to be more targeted and maybe to promote more holistic approach, because some member states have a panel of practices, and sometimes it's pick and choose for a farmer because via the practices he will get support and he will be happy for income support. But just to reflect, to have an efficiency, when you do some practice, you need to have some outcome at some stage. And my director insists as well to have some evidence about outcome. It will be a hard discussion because we need to collect data from member states for that. I will stop there.
We are a little late, but we have time for maybe one burning question related to CAP. No? Okay. If there's no question, then we move directly on to the next presentation. Francesco, floor is yours.
The right one?
Miriam.
Miriam, yes. This is Miriam. Sorry.
Can you put the other presentation on?
Okay,
Okay.
thanks. Yes. So, hello everyone. I will try to dig across 3 projects from AJP Soil, and I will just pick some information from these projects. These are not necessarily the main one, the key one, and I wish to thanks also the Sabine and Klaus that contributed, helping me defining this presentation. And first of all, how can we contribute for policy making? So I would use this starting point around which I will pick information from the different projects to investigate how we can impact, how can we can let's say have an impact on policy making. And the idea is this one. So in order to investigate the overall performance of a policy strategy, not only the CAP, but the entire strategy that can influence, can have an impact on soil health, this is let's say, a sort of infrastructure of our arguments, and this is based on 3 main levels of analysis. The first level, the one on the bottom of this triangle, is the level of enactment. So the level at which that correspond to the development of laws, regulations, standards, social norms, the level at which the Common Agricultural Policy, for instance, is issued, is enacted. And then there is a level of enforcement, which is a very key important element, is the level at which the regulation, the general regulation, as it could be, for instance, the Common Agricultural Policy, is translated into operational rules, what we call national strategic plans for the CAP. And also include all the systems, monitoring systems are there, contribute, influencing the enforcement, and then also the retribution mechanism. No mechanism to award or sanction, let's say, non-compliance with rules. And finally, the peak of this triangle is the level of responsiveness, the capacity of of target actors to respond to policy stimuli. I will start with investigating the peak of this, so the level of responsiveness. And the first question I will pose, these are some information from Into Dialogue, some results we got from that project. And the first question we should ask ourselves is, are farmers really wishing to implement soil management practices? What are the factors that can contribute, influence their willingness to implement specific practices? And what we found is that there are some variables that are very important. The prevailing of family labor, the prevailing income share from agriculture is really an element that has a strong impact, because farmers are really whose income prevail from agriculture are really sensitive to guarantee the perpetuation over time of soil functionality, more than other typologies of farmers. And these elements are even more important than the education, which is important, but not that important as these 2 very important forces, so the family labor and the income share from agriculture. Then we investigate, okay, but how farmers can be helped to implement desired practices. And here we investigated the barriers that play around farmers, and we understood that farmers face different farmers face, actually we know, different barriers, and especially the large farms have a very big issues related to markets, and also small farms, but not that much as a large farms, and small farms more related to lack of equipment, for instance. And so these are the elements. And then the lack of knowledge is a common point, and there are a number of surrounding elements surrounding infrastructures, the presence of living labs, the type of topologies of markets, the dominant markets in a given area or in a given cropping systems. All those play a role in influencing the magnitude of the barriers. And this is about just a short investigation on the level of responsiveness. But now we go into the level of enforcement of a policy, and here we can ask this question: are agri-environmental measures addressing soil health properly designed? So, for instance, one of the measures is about one of the measures of the CAP. Among the CAP measure, each member state can select a menu. From this menu, there is also the application of organic matter, which is subsidized. But where we can fit here? In the commitment. We can fit in the rules that farmers have to comply with in order to get subsidized. And here, Ion4Soil, for instance, which is an impressive project, because they addressed all the aspects related to the external organic matter. So from the processes to produce an external organic matter that can be usable in agriculture, to the process to apply this external organic matter in the fields. So the correct application of this external organic matter, because there are issues of sustainability around which the people working in that project they find, let's say, good rules to correctly use external organic matter to increase the sustainability, soil sustainability, and limit the negative impact, for instance, of emissions and so forth, and contaminants, for instance. And what they found is that some finding that the limit of contaminants is below the regulated value for most of the EOMs, and this is a good aspect. The organic contaminants tend to be absorbed by the soil matrix, so they are important, but the soil matrix absorb usually most of them, depending on the characteristic of the matrix. And then some EOMs, some external organic matters used in agriculture are not still very well monitored, and so this is a policy gap that they found. And this is another aspect related always to enforcement, and this is about the type and the quantity of fertilizers used in agriculture, and these also matter a lot because influence also the magnitude of emissions, and so the impact on the environment. And Artemis provided very good results, but in a long-term experiment in Switzerland. But they found that usually organic system they respond better than conventional system, because they can guarantee with lower, let's say, addition of organic fertilizer, they can guarantee a higher stock of nitrogen in soil. There is 1 minute left. Okay, always related to enforcement, we also investigated the relation between the problem related to yes, are soil health measures properly financed and enforced? And we also investigated this. And on the x-axis, you have an indicators that infer for the share of agricultural land targeted by the CAP measure addressing soil health. So the result indicator 19. And on the y-axis, we have the share of agricultural land by member states suffering soil degradation because of agricultural pressure. And so in this way, we can find a sort of misallocation of financial resources, because we found some member states that have a very they suffer a very high soil degradation level, but they are poorly financed by CAP measures addressing soil health. Is the part on, don't know how this works. Okay, is this quadrant here. So poorly financed by the CAP and high level of soil degradation. And here there is another graph. In the y-axis, we have the level of infringements of member states, infringements related to environmental regulations, mainly the Water Framework Directive, the Habitat Directive, and the Nitrate Directive. And on the x-axis is always the share of agricultural land targeted by CAP measures. This is a very important element, because here we have a problem of misapplication of rules, which are at the bottom of the CAP. If you don't apply correctly the rules, then this compromise also the correct implementation of the Common Agricultural Policy. Yes, we are done. Yes, sorry. Okay, we can go to the final conclusion. Is for sure there are a number of issues that we just very, very quickly addressed, but better targeting environmental funding that need also better addressing sensitive region, and a clear and also it is important to strengthen the commitments and to adapt the commitments to specific areas according to the needs, and this need to be linked to the research, for instance, to design correct commitments. And finally, the long-term experiments and the living labs are the elements around which that can guarantee the spread of knowledge among farmers, or their responsiveness, and in one end, and then allow the research to be more effective, and that's it. Thank you. Sorry.
Always hard to explain the research of another person in your own words. So thank you very much for this. We will come back to your recommendations later in the dialogue. Now I want to give the floor to Miriam from SLU, who's going to talk a little bit more about fostering soil management practices and uptake.
I'm short. I need to adjust first this. Okay, so thank you, Saskia. So I'm here to present the results of several projects concerning by the fostering soil management practices and uptake. So the three projects that I'll be presenting, main fundings are ISOMIPI, SoilX, and EG Prac2Live project. So here, first I will start by presenting the results from the ISOMIPI project. It's about the innovative soil management practices across Europe. So here in this project, based on a long database, they have examined the sustainable and the good practices that exist in Europe, and they developed this decision support tool, which actually target advisors. So based on the information the advisor fill in regarding his choices and concerns and what his objective, he will get recommendation of the different practices that can be implemented, but also what kind of information description related to that, and also they will get an information about where it was applied, and that's kind of give them more information on what is behind that recommendations. So here, what we want to show, or the project wants to show here, that even the good practices, they do have different adoptions and practice in different regions and different countries and in different contexts. So we can see here from example of practice of no tillage and also conservation tillage for different countries. The different colors shows the adoptions or non-adoptions by farmers, but these results are actually to highlight that there is specific size conditions related to this, but and the diversity of the innovative soil management practices in Europe it is high. And so the adoption of many practices among farmers could increase, but this is explained by different factors. First, the biophysical limitations that can have a role on this, like if it's a humid or more dry, or that can affect mainly what kind of practices have been implemented and adopted by the farmers. But also there is another type of socioeconomic factors that will influence the decision of farmers to adopt or not these measures. So the other fundings also about that there is different limitation, barriers, opportunities in the different case studies that have been considered in ISOMAP project, and they showed the importance of two things. First, the networks among practitioners and researchers for experience and knowledge sharing. That's as a very important factor to consider, but also the factor importance of liquidity for investments in machinery and for the risk taken by the adoption of innovations, which is here we talk about economic thing. So where innovative and soil management practice can be relevant, policies may support in the adoption by considering these points. Another interesting results have been highlighted by the SoilX projects, which focus on the considerations, not the whole project, one of the outputs of the project is focused on the consideration of the priorities of practitioners. Here, different 5 countries have been considered doing interviews and using the Q method. Different type of farmers have been identified in Austria, Denmark, Sweden, Spain, and Switzerland. You can see if every color is a type of farmer. And here we can see diversity between all these farmers with the different countries, but also they highlighted that there is heterogeneous groups, but regarding different points of view on soil management priorities. However, there is also similarities that concerns economic concerns, future generation, and the health of soil. So these circles actually shows that between the different countries, there's similarities that can make easier to say that there is type of farmers that can be targeted. So it's kind of to simplify the diversity of what we can see in the reality in every countries and across all the countries. So, and the same thing that have been also seen in Spain and Switzerland. I can read, but unfortunately I cannot see it that good from here. I don't think I can go into details, but the message is this: there is big different types in each country and across the countries, but also there's similarities that should be considered to make more targeted policies. To make more attractive support measures and more the information can vary. Now I will go and present also the main results from the Prac2Live project, which I work in. It's about the decision support tool and fostering the implementation of decision support tools in Europe across Living Labs. So the focus in the projects here is 3 parameters: the soil nutrient use efficiency, soil organic carbon, and water availability and retention. Wide range of decision support tools have been identified, 112 at the end that have been considered in the project. with different types of tools. They have different garden implementation, different platform like mobile application or online, different purposes, like either single purpose regarding one parameter or multiple purposes. So we can see there is a big number, but mainly these tools are locally developed, and we can see rarely have similarity have been reported. Here to show the main improvement that have been suggested. I can go quickly for nutrient use efficiency. For example, they said that it is important to show, to calculate the soil nutrient status, fertilization balance, but also it's important to show the impact of over fertilization, and that can give the farmers like to see the impact of his decision. And that's for water retention. There is also improvement regarding soil moisture status, irrigation needs, provide forecast, but also the catchment scale is a very important scale to be considered and included in decision support tools. And also the need to manage both a drought and flood in certain case studies countries. For soil organic carbon, there is and account for soil health indicators that the soil organic matter involve long-term decision, and that's the time scale that should be considered. And also it could be interesting to consider single entry web portal to avoid all the different apps and make the farmers and target only one. So here, sorry, I should get back to Mark. Here, the conclusion is to say that there is different scales can be used with decision support tools, and they have the different potential. But this one, it can be that was highlighted that could be also considered to calculate also scenarios, and it should be considered with the end user. So the question was what extent those are applicable at different scales. Here, the slide that will be, so for every parameter, there's the farmer's goal, the regional goals that have been highlighted by the national coordinators and the interview that we considered. Here, it was a long list. I was about to choose the main ones that can be, but that's the first mistake. Actually, I think I can do by selecting one of the goals, because the idea is to say that different farmers and different regions can have different goals, and this should be highlighted, this diversity to be taken in consideration. But the details, of course, like, for example, there is one talking about increase in handling the water quantity, like if there's a flood, and also about drought preparedness. But the importance to say that decision support tool can serve both farmers and regional goals in order to achieve the nationals and the European sustainability and goals. Here, this is as a conclusions actually of design have been done with our colleague from Wageningen University, Danielle, based on the different discussion have been made within the meetings, is to say that different factors can be included here, but the importance is that there is a decision that can be made locally, and individual decision will influence the resource management on local scale and larger scale, and that this should be included in this how to say different scale to integrate all the stakeholders involved in resource soil management in order to make a better decision. And this multiple scales that have to be considered. So that's the role of decision support tools. And thank you.
Yes, thank you. And I think it's interesting to see indeed the role of decision support tool to look at European scale ambitions, national ambitions, and then from farm levels, and then moving between them. And then now I'm happy to give the floor to try to give some feedback and some thinking of what we have just heard. Anna, I'm very happy to hear that you're here, both a farmer, but also a representative of the Farmer Union Confagricultura Vincennes. Welcome. Introduce yourself, give some background, because I think your background is also very interesting for everybody, and happy to hear your thoughts.
Thank you very much.
Okay. My background. I studied agricultural science in Italy, and then I also studied for a year abroad in the US, at the University of California, Davis, where I started to learn about sustainable agriculture. That was my very first thought about it. And then I came back and I started to work on the family farm, and soon enough, I understood that there was another way of farming. And this popped up into my mind when I met some friends from Argentina, and I went to Po along the Pyrenees for a GPM a meeting, annual meeting. Those are the Corn Growers Association of France. And this guy taught me that Federico Zerboni from close to Buenos Aires, that there was another way of farming. 3,000 hectares, 3 tractors, 3 men at that time. It was year 2000. I went to visit him and I started to think. And then I realized that there was more people doing conservation agriculture in Italy and in Europe, much more than I thought about it. So I started to exchange, and here I'm going back to what has been said, that there is a big need of exchange and share. We need to go out of our farms. We need to share and take time to do that. This is time, and it's mine. It's also money consuming, but we should focus on ways to share. And I've learned most of what I'm doing there, also in South Dakota, with Dwayne Beck, with some guys from Chile, and in a lot of in Switzerland, a lot in France. So I put everything together, but no one was following me on this path 20 years ago. Now I have all the farmers, the young farmers of my association that are running for this. So there has been a big changement also into the mentality, and what it's inside here is the main driver. As farmers, of course, we need to. This is our focus. We need a revenue. We need to make profit. It's a business. If we don't make profit, there will be no farm. And we are here to make food, but also to make environment. And there's ecosystem services that we can sell through a specific way of farming need to be paid. And there's the changement for me in a paradigm with the citizens in the future. Because we do not get paid to farm, but we do get paid for the ecosystem service we deliver to everybody in Europe. That is where most of the CO2 emissions are produced. And we take the CO2 from the atmosphere and put it into the ground, and in the ground it stays. In the ground becomes fertility. It becomes everything that Miriam just said. So it's a really good change in paradigm, because we really need to talk in a different way with citizens. It has to be a completely different story in the near future. And carbon farming is part of it. We really look forward to this. Getting to the end, the gate of our farm, we can have a product and we can sell the product, or we can use this product as an ingredient for food processing, and the added value of all of the sustainable process that we have gone through will increase in the final product. So this is going to be even more. It depends. I mean, I'm looking forward, because I see farmers struggling now. We have seen in the recent time that they were on the streets all the time. And it was not just, as it was said in the Copa Cogeca slide, a problem of, from my point of view, not just a problem of it's not just the price that were low, but the costs were impossible, and bureaucracy was also a challenge. It's very, very much complicated to be a farmer now, and the climate change that we feel, it's more and more close to us than everybody else. So if we go towards a sustainable way of farming, like a conservation agriculture, we are more resilient. We do not fear as much as our neighbors the heat waves or the flood or the lack of water, because the system is more resilient. And you can see it in 5 years from the beginning, but it has to be holistic and real. No-till, crop rotation, and cover crops. And we do not need, and we don't know anything about cover crops now. So there is a lot to learn, and we have to do it together. Academia, farmers, and practitioners, consultant, but also the industry, because they're going to get our food, and we want them to pay for that. It's not free. So we can move from a commodity to a specialty, a high value product. I think I've said most of the things, but I'm here. And now I invite all the speakers to the panel, and I think as a first action, I will ask Emmanuel to have a little reflection on what was just been said. Maybe some of the comments on the young farmers, on the business part, on the profit part, or maybe also on the holistic part. Then I will. You are in front. Do you want to start, Emmanuel? To give a reaction back to the lady.
Yes, but as you said, we need. It was already mentioned in other presentation. We need to convince farmer to move, and our task is limited when we are in administration, because we need to deal with money, we need to control the money, and we need to set some rule. But at some stage, we need to have some support on the ground, and to have a relevant voice to advise farmer in a good way, to make sense what we are design at our level, because in fact they don't understand at all what the main goal and what will be the, as you explained, what would be the final profitability for the farmer to go in some other direction. Yeah. And for that, I explained in my presentation, there is a CAP instrument, conditionality, extra support, but we develop as well. Maybe it's not so visible, but in European Innovation Partnership, for example, we have some focus group. And I was in a focus group on regenerative agriculture, and it's only 20 farmers, but 20 farmers from different member states to say, okay, it's not only in Spain, it's not only in Greece, but there was Denmark. And this farmer has already identified what you have already said, different barriers, the need to have, I would say, advice, but some exchange between the farmer, to have a network, to have some new investment of machinery. Donc they have already identified some barrier, and they will continue to have a common reflection on cover crop, because they have each farmer has own experience of this cover crop, and they need to share their experience on that. And maybe there will be a report, and it's one report among other reports, but just to show. I insist on that because it's in parallel of the research innovation program, but it's more in fact the result of some farmer reflection, and we need to take care of that, and we encourage that in our CAP as well. Okay, we have to promote it, and we have to make it more visible. And based on focus group, we in fact invite member states to have operation group as well.
Maybe a question related to that, and then I give the floor to all of you. So whomever has a striking question, you can already maybe raise your hand such that the mic can come to you later on. Whose responsibility is it to explain what is the overall ambition of the CAP? Because I know Europe has an ambition with the CAP. I suppose maybe there are also some national policymakers in the room. Each country has their own ambitions with CAP, maybe some transformational ambitions, and to which extent do you bridge the gap between farmer national ambitions and European ambitions? And that's a question to whomever wants to address this question. Or maybe somebody from the room would like to say some words about it. You go first.
I would actually first thank you for the question, and this is actually highlight what you exactly said, that how actually to reach the farmer. There is the now the importance of that stakeholder actually that brings the gap between the different scales. That what is actually needed. It's which play the role between the policymakers, between the farmers, between the researchers, and for example, the Level Lab can play that role by making playing that role of a bridge between the different scales and different stakeholders, and making sure to engage all the type of parties concerned with that to make it more structured plan, and that will be very could be very helpful first to gather first the knowledge that have been produced locally, but also to make the future action more realistic, to not have that overestimations of plans and decisions, because then you will see what's have been planned, that would have been in real life, that gap then can make the effort actually like a resistance between what you see and what you can think about.
Yeah.
When I first read the documents about Farm to Fork and the Green Deal, I said, okay, I'm on that line already, sort of. And then when you start getting into details and you see all the implementations, I said, if we get into all of this, we're not going to produce anymore. So my suggestion is, let's try to have first solutions, commercial viable solutions on the market, let's say for pesticides or reduce nutrients, and then constraints, because we do not fear constraints, but we need solutions. So if there is a gap in communication in this point, this can be very difficult to adjust to the farmers. There are some, and this is for the academia, there are sectors that could be highly implemented. Let's just talk about endophytes. Let's just talk about grass generally recognized as safe microorganism, just to give you an example. But first solutions and then constraints.
Okay, or what about maybe an early announcement of a constraint? If it takes 10 years to, what I understood yesterday, 10 years to develop new seeds, maybe a 10-year pre-announcement of, ending glyphosate, let's say it like that, or something. Would that be is that an approach, phasing in, phasing out? Is that considered also in CAP, maybe?
Absolutely, and that's one of the things that the farmers ask for, is the time for transition and for change. This decision between the decision and implementation requires time, and for them, they just want enough and sufficient time to adapt and receive that information and change their system. And they always, based on what you see farmers saying, say, I cannot do what has been decided now. I need time. But how you decide time? Is it maybe just announcements? It's insufficient, but there is communication science now, like it should be included in soil science, is when you know how where is your audience, what kind of understanding he has, how you can involve him and you communicate with him those environmental concerns and change, but also how you create that acceptance and then you implement like those strategies step by step for make them engage and do. So communication, it's not it is a science that could it's important to be included with soil science for sure and policy.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
is an online question, but maybe first you want to add on this?
No, because in fact, for the policy maker, but after we are as well responsible for implementation on the policy. And if we talk about CAP is a budget, and this budget should be allocated in a good way because there is, in fact, control for our administration. And yes, we are in is an issue for us because at some stage in the past we talk about error rate to avoid some error when you allocate the payment per hectare for the farmer. Is still in mind, but we try to use now maybe a new possibility with remote sensing, maybe to maybe the further control for the farmer, but to make a more warning when the farmer has to implement something, to say, okay, even pre-warning when he applies something, to have a possibility to correct something, or even when he will implement some practice, to have some warning if he's going in a bad way, I would say, just to have to set more confidence with the farmer, is because just we have to have a control, but we have to have a dialogue with the farmer as well via our instrument.
Dialogue through the instrument. I think there is an online question.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, two questions, all two of them from Mirko Barbero of DG Envy. First question is in first instance for the farmer. Good afternoon, last speaker, that was you, said conservation agriculture is sustainable. However, FAO says rather that conservation agriculture, as other practices, can be sustainable depending on how it is applied in practice. So I translate a bit the question in this frame and this discussion. Is the definition of conservation agriculture smart enough to be treated as such as a sustainable soil measure?
Thank you for the question. I was actually involved in a side event at the FAO on June 4th, and it was during the Global Soil Partnership. And the definition of conservation agriculture was given by the FAO in the 90s, and it's actually no-till or reduced tillage. Associate 3 pillars, and those are associated. You cannot miss one of these. No-till or reduced minimum disturbance of the soil associated with crop rotation and the use of cover crops. So this is FAO definition. Talking about sustainability, I love to remember a slide that Professor Vincenzo Tabaglio always shows during his presentations, and it says sustainability. And then there is a gentleman serving tea and say, how would you like your sustainability? Saying that it might be a word that can have different adjustments. I don't know if I did answer your question, but generally speaking, it's considered sustainable. But I'm talking about this type, the FAO definition. Again, I've learned in South Dakota how you can implement, if possible, with the husbandry. But if possible, I mean, and you cannot do it everywhere, but if possible, this is really nice. If you can add that.
Okay.
Are there any questions in the room? Yeah, we have one question.
the ministry.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So you were asking about the implementation at national level of the communication and the transfer of knowledge and awareness. In fact, as you mentioned, there is the AKI system, which must be implemented at national level. And in fact, all member states do it. And mainly is to invest a lot in the advisors, in training the advisors, because they can reach the farmers much easier, and investing a lot on demo farms, which is more peer-to-peer demonstration, which is very challenging, even to convince the neighboring farmers to go to those demonstration farms. It's we face it difficult, but I think it's the best way to convince them to see the results and have farmers like you to explain the results that you have. And also, well, the Living Labs approach, which is very local, I think it's also a very good approach. But all of these, for all of these, I think we need results from the research to apply and to show. And that's another challenge. And I think the other challenge is the time to have the results, isn't it? Yeah, the results of the appliance of the sustainable measures, isn't it? It takes long to each local to see, because they need to see locally.
So shortly, you have a call for locally trained, actually, soil advisors or soil advisors, and they really need to well understand the relation from the European targets to the local targets, because they give the apply. So you need local decision support tools. But you, as a national policy maker, would you then, how would you sum up all the local activity? All the local activities being done. What do we have in place to bring that farm level or local level together to a national level, to a EU level? Do you have something available for that? To bridge
No,
that?
just if I remember well, for example, the tool to help decision making. In our proposal, we want to have a tool to manage a nutrient at farmer level. We finance a study for that, to develop a specific tool to use at the farm and to incorporate input, to incorporate the need for the plant, and to have a balance sheet at the end. But as far I know, there was a resistance from member state, because they say, okay, we don't need to have something from EU. And today is more the status quo. And I imagine each member state there is a relevant tool, but I need to see with my colleague, because he's in charge of this dossier. But just to give an example, if we need to, we are open mind to spend money for that and to have a consultant for that. But at some stage, we need to export the outcome, and we need to have some adhesion, acceptance for member state to move forward.
Yeah.
It's a question. Is it
Put your mic to your mouth.
It is a just question to clarify, because you talk about something more technical or social or institution, because or combined maybe.
What do you think that we should do?
That's exactly like you said, that farmers, how you communicate with them, they do have different background and different capacity to adapt, and that diversity cannot be considered and with the way from the national scale. You need that stakeholders exist like more in regional and local level, that it's more close to the farmer, they know their capacity, the specificities, the more the local challenges, and that will make it for them more targeted actions in order to communicate, and that's local practices regarding to the market, what kind of local social groups like cooperative, even farmers, they create their own networks, and that will make easier to understand that diversity, but also to communicate on larger scale.
Yes, rule of thumb, I totally agree with you. Definitely it would be different at different levels, but definitely get out, not in a room, get on the field and have other people talk together. And this is something I've learned in Salta, so far away from there. And the farmer was from Portugal, and he told me when I was farming in Portugal, everyone was closing the door of their gates because everyone is perfect. When I came here to the other side of the world, I've learned how much we need to each other. And so I open up the gate and everyone comes in and see the errors. Through the errors with a team of people, we can understand how to do things better. And every year you can do it better. So this is something we should work on. Farmers to get together on the field with practitioner, with academia, with a consultant. Let's do that, and not only on a regional level. Just to tell you, because if I tell these people that this year they're going to pay me the canola on conservation agriculture 30 euros per ton more, because this guy who is buying it is going to sell it for biofuel in Northern Europe, maybe they will start to understand something. And this is linked to the ESG, finance and carbon, whatever. So we need to get out of the farm.
Miriam has a reaction.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's just additional comments to what you said. It's the necessity of participatory approaches, actually, in order to make that frameworks more clear, or how to act and how to approach the farmers, and what kind of strategy and tools that should be developed. That's so it's not to be it's methodology aspects that really very important to be considered, because you need to know with who you work with the farmers, because sometimes the farmers, they can be themselves the bridge between other farms, and that's, for example, I've seen it in Brazil. For example, they use a farmer to be a leader and a certain group, because they know how to communicate and what are the contexts, and that's the kind of frameworks they can develop by research, but in collaborations with the policymakers and the farmers, and that. But you need that space, and what is that place? Is it Living Labs are the appropriate space to create such frameworks, to consider that local and regional specificities that you cannot see in it, or you cannot identify it with a proper way if it's not done with more participatory way.
Francesco, do you want to add on that one?
I totally agree. I mean, we cannot think about any transition if we don't drive the change in some way. Probably the best way is through demonstration fields, and the starting point. I mean, to make apparent that something can be feasible. This is the way. Everybody can understand it. So, and about ambition for maybe of the CAP, if I might change.
Yeah.
Yes. Is this CAP really more ambition than the former one? I mean, I'm asking this because I noticed a lot of arbitrariness in the definition by member states of good environmental conditions, especially the one related to crop rotation, and about also wetlands, and about we were talking about also cover crops. There are some quite big difference among member states, and I see a lot of arbitrariness, but can you elaborate on that, please?
Can elaborate. But it will take time, huh? Because we look at each member state how they want to define some GAEC, and as you mentioned, GAEC crop rotation is relevant GAEC and GAEC minimum soil cover, and based on that, we try to have an harmonized way to say we need at least to have the common understanding each member state. And for crop rotation, in fact, the text was very limited because it's a change every year at the parcel level. And we admit if you are farmer, you cannot change your whole farmer every year. Donc we introduce some flexibility, but at least we say after 3 years, okay, you have to change your crop, and we let you margin. But there was a lot of discussion from member state because the main discussion is maize, and maize. For them, is important to continue. I mean, after we introduce the idea to have a intermediate crop for maize or under soy, in fact, you see, we elaborate a little bit our background. But for minimum soil cover, I think here I take the opportunity to say you should provide scientific background to member state, to the administration, because I can give you the argument for member state. I can give you the argument because the argument is for me, but it's for my director, it's for my commissioner at some stage. When there is a discussion and there is a difficult dialogue, they provide some argument. And sometimes they stick on some scientific background, but it's a little bit old-fashioned. It should be updated. I can understand the situation because if I talk with Bulgaria or if I talk with Lithuania, sorry, and Latvia, okay, the situation is not the same, and even I am in Brussels, I'm aware. But I think for minimum soil cover, there is, in fact, the main message is we need to plow up. We need to plow up absolutely. We need to plow up in autumn. We need to plow up in November. We need to plow up because we need to be in a good condition. We need to prepare the soil in good condition in spring. It's the main message we got. And we have some argument, scientific argument for that. So that means for me, after is a scientific community to be agree on that. But I try to challenge the argument. I have even some difficulty at some stage because this was a previous GAEC and there was my auditor make some finding on a report, and there was a conciliation with member state, and I need to attend to the meeting and to justify why we need to have a soil cover, because in member state it was only 40%. The obligation is of 40%, but 40% is nothing because everybody put a winter crop. Okay, why you have a requirement to put 40% of coverage during the autumn? And it's no sense. I don't want to spend money and time to control that. And I need to explain that because they are not, there is no justification.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to give you the last words to finalize. Yeah, go ahead.
I don't want to go back and forth, but I just want to open up to the floor to be a bit open to possibilities, because there is always a way to make things better. Let's try not to think about crop rotation as corn, soybean, for instance, because this is not a rotation. This is a sequence. And it's much better if you, that's why I'm telling you, that's much better if you go for 2-3 years of corn and then you switch to something completely different. But you need the market for that. So in order to have different crops, we need markets. So as more markets we find, the better. As more markets with unheaded values, such as CO2 sequestration, we find, the better. Let's try to be open now, because this is something I've learned in the years, and we need to be smarter than weed. We need to be smarter than fungi, and we need to be smarter than insects. So let's not do a crop rotation is good for that, but it doesn't have to be a sequence.
Great. That's a wonderful point to end it with. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, panel. I think if I summarize, for CAP, we need to go up into our sustainable measures, and we need to explain to our national, to our countries, to our farmers, why and how and what's the added value. I think it's very nice to have an example of a good sustainable farmer that you see that you actually meet each other. We go out in the fields to talk to each other, so maybe some kind of mechanisms to help that dialogue, these discussions among farmers and stakeholders. But for that, we have living labs in the soil mission, so all will be good in the end, hopefully. Thank you very much for your attention, and let's move to the next session. A big applause for them.
An announcement to make. Before we go to coffee break, we have some final observations of our coordinator and our co-coordinator, Anna Besse and Claire Chenu.
Oh.
Okay, we'll do it together.
Again.
So follow-up and closing. So first, maybe we want, go ahead. So we started, we started together with a presentation on where we were and what we considered as being key achievements. And indeed, we think after these days, after this week, we still think that, yes, we have really unique achievements that correspond to our knowledge frameworks, knowledge development, knowledge sharing and transfer, knowledge harmonization, organization and storage, and knowledge application with a number of projects. And one is building a European research network that embedded in it, we think that achievements are pan-European. So pan-European is a bit exaggerated because we, unfortunately, all European countries were not in the AJP SOL for various reasons, but stock takes assessments over a large number of European countries and key research results. And you had a flavor today of the synthesis of some key research results. But also, building a database of metadata on long-term experiment. And this is a tool for you, for the whole community to use, to continue to use in the next years and hopefully decades. Knowledge harmonization, harmonization of soil knowledge and information. And I think we had really good synthesis today of what it is and what it serves to. Science to Policy Task Force and Science to Practice Interface. Also, the dialogue today was an illustration, and I think we have a number of productions that correspond to this. And the last one, and national hubs that were creation. Actually, it was originally the idea of Saskia Visser. Well, it works. It is unique, and it's really helpful for this dialogue about soils, around soils, but many issues can be discussed when you start to discuss soils.
Which was an innovative tool.
And it is an innovative tool. And I don't know what you wanted to say with this.
What we wanted to say is that it would be really great that we have did a lot of work on this, and we have achieved it, but now it would be good if all the work that we have done in the past 5 years could be institutionalized and maybe also broadened with our experience to the whole Europe, to not only EGP SOL partners, but also to all 27 European countries and associate countries. These are the observations of us as coordinators of EGP SOIL, but we are actually interested to know what you think about our achievements, how you see them. So we would like to do a Menti inventory of the two questions. So the first one is,
Oh, it's already here. Yes. So what do you think, what are the most important achievements of EGP soil? And you can choose score in between the ones that we have selected. Which are more important? What are less important? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, first you need time for that.
Yes. Hope that everyone is keeping their phones just next to them. You can also use the code to enter. We can also see how many people are in the room because we don't know. Okay, is everyone?
Still see some people
Oh, yeah.
capturing. Oh God.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Okay, so please score the achievements of EGP soil, the ones that we have, that Claire has introduced. No, you just have to, I think, the score it from, you disagree that it is achievement, or you strongly agree, yeah, that it is one of the major achievements. Yes, you can move the bar. Yes, it's 529-22139. I'm very curious. Do we have our favorite ones, Claire? We're not going to tell that. You could hear it from the voice of Claire. Of course, our policymakers are voting for science to policy, and the farmers to yeah, it depends. Maybe they score very low. That's also possible. It's also possible that the policymakers score very low because they're not satisfied.
And it would be.
Does anyone in the meanwhile want to comment?
To add another item.
Okay, have two hands here. Who wants to be first?
What about the research?
The
research, the results?
The results, yes. Of course, I could not forget.
Well, we are a research
Never.
program, so we assume that results are research results are the primary product that we have. Great, you want to comment as well, or you had the same comment? Oh. Chantal.
And after this,
Well, I agree with these, but I think also there are some points we just started. So
yeah,
it's that's just a comment.
Well, establishing things is also an achievement. Yeah.
Yeah, I was also thinking about the capacity building because I don't see that here,
yes, right, right.
because like harmonization of soil information, I personally not scored like a 5, but it's just because there is a long way ahead. But I think it's already very important that we started indeed the capacity building, started training of people. So I can very much appreciate that. So
thanks. And actually, we discussed that at lunchtime, and I think we have to add it. We have forgotten it, and we definitely forgot it.
I would also add discovering new knowledge needs. So new knowledges are very important for the future.
Support the young scientists, I think, visiting scientists and
yes.
Yeah. So capacity building, yes. Okay, very good. Okay, thank you very much. So we see from here that European Research Network as an overall envelope for the work of EGP Soil has scored the most. So that's good to see that. Very valuable. I can't move the... Yes, well, I'd like to move to the next. Oh, I can. Okay, another question to you, knowing what we have achieved, which topics of EGP Soil need to be further developed? I know that were discussions yesterday during Science to Policy workshop. And please be not very specific, but a bit of a higher level. The program level, I guess.
So we have items related to practices, over to soil data, quite a lot, and on how to do research, not only scientists, but scientists and practitioners and policymakers.
Data harmonization is certainly a winner. Yes.
Wow. So we will analyze this list.
Yes, we will group the list somehow, I hope. Yes. Okay.
Yes, and EGP Soil was not about all topics related to agricultural soil management. For example, soil contamination was, as agreed with the Commission, not a priority. And we didn't work either on soil-borne diseases. Well, there could have been other topics that are extremely important for management of agricultural soils that were not in the scope, in the agreed scope of the EJP. Doesn't mean that they're not important, but yeah, you cannot do everything.
Okay, communication has also popped up. Soil biodiversity. So okay, I think, yes, pictures being made. Thank you very much, and continue to fill in if you have more. But I would like to switch back to the slide number 5. Okay. So we have, of course, thought, because we are now at the end of EGP Soil, we stop at the end of November.
7 months to go.
Yes.
And with hard work.
Yes.
Everyone on board.
But at the same time,
no, everyone is on board.
At the same time, it's good to think about the future. We are now a grown-up network how do we go from here further? At a longer term, we have been in discussion with the Soil Mission Secretariat about our results and our impact that we make. Also started thinking about follow up on the short term. So what needs to be done? You've filled that in a lot, but I think important is to keep our network and continue some of the EGP Soil work. So the topics that we thought of are, well, some ideas, some thoughts that we have, and we hope to get your ideas here as well in a moment. Well, how to, well, all the results are coming in from EGP Soil. By January next year, there will be, at the last moment, things coming in. There will be publications appearing after the end of EGP Soil. It will be very important to provide a sustainable legacy of our results and put these results also in a national context. This is something that I think is of added value. Well, harmonization of national soil information, that has been was the winner of the Menti. Supporting Soil Mission mirror groups and the alignment with and alignment of the national research agendas. Providing materials to support capacity building of farm advisors. That's something that we have started already. And serving as a task force to provide science evidence for European policy requests. These are also things that we have been already doing in relation to the carbon removal certification framework and soil monitoring directive. So what are the intermediate solutions to continue our collaborations? This is a difficult part, of course. We, of course, hope that we continue to get support from the European Commission, maybe from the directorates. There is also a possibility to look for some funding, especially for the network support for research network initiatives of the countries like Green Era Hub, Pace GPI, and European Soil Partnerships. These are good platforms. But also we hope that if we don't get any additional money, that you at your research institutes will be able to provide some, or in the ministries provide some resources to keep on going, maybe in a very well, in the form of meetings once in a while, but and staying in contact. And then the last question to you through the Menti again will be, how do you see it? How would you like to contribute to the EGP Soil follow-up? Your ideas are very welcome.
And I would like to add that the way we prepare this and we think of this in coordination is not to continue a club. It's to be more ambitious than that. It's to continue an active, effective community of soil science. We want soil science to be stronger.
Okay, I would like to ask our support to switch to the Menti again. And then maybe I can go to the next question. And maybe there is someone who already would like to say something about the follow-up of EGP Soil. Do you have any ideas, something that you haven't seen here? Or you have some money, maybe, you can offer us? Or Jenny? Like an auction.
Well, thank you very much. My name is Jenny Barron. I work for SLE, and I've been part of AGP Soils mainly on the capacity and training activities. So I just wanted to add one point around the, I think you said the European Soil Partnership, right? So there was this meeting, I understand, and my colleague was attending, and it said that they were really changing the format and the model of the, so, you know, it's turning into something much more formalized, going through government coordination, something less open as it was before. So maybe not everything is you know, this is a very open and inclusive way, and anybody can join the EJP in a sense, and you're ambitious to open it even more. So maybe that's not the, maybe that will be a little bit challenging. Thanks.
Thank you, Jenny. Okay, now it's a challenge to screen through all the open-ended questions.
Published. We're doing great, but can do much greater. Research project, mapping and data analysis, submit proposals to EIT Food, connect with the regenerative agriculture program. Yeah, good suggestion. Communication, networking, knowledge exchange, scientific results for solutions.
Annual science days until 2030 or 2030.
Science, common research project, transfer knowledge, Soil Mission CSA, continue annual science days. Yeah, have a final conference, policy advisors, continue webinars. Yes, we will continue webinars.
And get together in new consortia for research projects.
Remember, I told in the introduction that you should use these days to network for the current call of the Soil Mission. Hope you did it. Yeah. A number of very interesting topics.
Okay. International Congress with summary of the main EJP soil project results.
We're doing but EDU at the centennial of the IUSS and to come at your soil next year.
Okay, thank you very much for your input. We are going to analyze that and use it. Okay. With this,
so to close this event, we would like to express how fruitful and great these days were. The number and the quality of the posters, of the oral presentations, the presence, the activity, and even the engagement of young scientists was amazing. And the many interactions, so many discussions, questions raised after the talks, and discussions at coffee breaks were long enough. That was great. So we could really discuss, and it's so important, the liveliness and the friendliness of the meeting. So this was just amazing. And yes, we would like to say that this meeting was possible, of course, thanks to the setting and to the organization. It has been 6 months of organization for our Lithuanian partners with our AJP soil colleagues. And this is an investment from the Institute that welcomes us, from their Ministry of Agriculture as well, the Ministry of Agriculture from Lithuania. And we would also like to thank the H2020 program and the 24 co-founders of the AJP Soil that made it possible. We really appreciated the setting, the organization. We appreciated very much visiting your long-term experiments. They are quite impressive, and I think that none of the participants will ever forget what it is traveling in a privatized train that eventually becomes a dance floor. So, no, it's not finished. So we would like to thank, and I'll give the floor to Anna.
Yes, thank you. I would like to have a couple of people here, the ones that organized the program of EJP Soil. Was a lot of work behind that to prepare all the sessions, to prepare the program. with all the participants and presenters, but also to organize a very pleasant and very nice place here. So I would like to have a couple of people here. First of all, Louise Pauwels from ILVO. Thank you. Claire. Secondly, we would like to have Monica here. From LAMS. There are also two people, Avion Phillips and Eva Ecker, who did a lot on the who did really a lot, but unfortunately they are sick today and probably worked too much, I guess. So they cannot be here with us now, but a lot of thanks for them. And further, I would like to ask Line Bergen. By the way, these are all presents with some amber pieces in there that you can put on the window or on your Christmas tree. Very beautiful. And I would like to ask Sevinch, our co-leader of Work Package 9, also did a lot for the meeting. And then we have Vita. I hope she's here. Yes, she's here. Also from LAMSI. And yes, well, someone who has not only organized this conference. Oh, no, maybe first of, yeah, sorry. And I would also like to thank the whole team of the LAMS for their hospitality and for an excellent organization. I think Claire wants to say more about that.
Amazing organization, just amazing. And also, we would like to thank someone who contributed a lot to the preparation of these days, but makes our everyday life in AJP possible, Raisa Gerasima. There's, you know, we talk a lot about climate change mitigation. I'm not always very virtuous. We're not always very virtuous. There are some people in our consortium who are quite amazing. This is here for Frederick van Wiedekens. I don't know, where are you, Frederick? Yeah. Oh, there. To just say a few words about what is this here and what you're doing with it.
Hello, everybody. No, I didn't do something too special. I just come here in the conference. But yes, I came with my small bikes. Maybe you already saw it. But so yes, and by train. In fact, I come from Belgium, and I decide to travel by train. This when it's possible, even if far, if it's far. So I was in Firenze, not so long time ago. Vienna, not easy also. Here it's the farthest travel I did. It's 1,760 kilometers by train, 6 trains and 5 cities between my city and here. So yeah, and I did it most of it for myself. I need to see if I need to say something, not for climate change, to be coherent, but also for sorry, but also for psychological health to be in a train and to see countryside and so on and so on. So, and also because I'm effective in the train, also I work well, and to be coherent also with what we need to do here. We are here to speak about carbon, and I judge nobody. So I think I look just myself and what can I do. That's what I. And I will retain just one sentence. I think it's from Grete from yesterday. And she said me, well, now we understand better why I choose to travel by train because you have amazing train in Lithuania also.
And in that line, we have another hero. Katarina Meurer came to Palermo by train from Sweden. Can you imagine?
And also Olivier Heller came by train also from Switzerland.
Yes. Yeah, thank you very much. So what is next? One event that is next is that we plan to organize a final policy conference. It will be in Brussels. It will be, so we just set the date. So sorry for those who should have been informed in the last days, but we just fixed. And it will be with in-presence policymakers and for the scientific community online. So there we will present, but of course we will solicit a number of AJP Sol scientists to present results, to present synthesis of results, how our results are relevant to policy. So yes, we are starting to we'll start to organize this.
And we can identify already a number of topics from the today discussions.
Yes.
And we'll involve also our policymakers in,
preparing
the program.
so that it is also useful from your side of policymakers that this conference takes place.
Yes. So
annual science days. Well, we had yesterday many questions, and I think Anna also. And where are the next annual science days? Normally there is none, but we think we're going to work on that and think whether, of course, there are administrative constraints, budgetary constraints, but yes, we think that we have to consider that very seriously because to have another scientific meeting to present results. And I will conclude maybe on a more personal note. Well, my personal conviction for years has been that people, humans, are essential for science. Capacity building, mentoring, teamwork, that you cannot do science without that. And coordinating the AJP was quite an experience to this regards. And yes, many of us did not collaborate together either. For example, I had never worked with Saskia Visser, I didn't know Anna, and on the go we had to work together very closely, and it happened for same for many of you. In the projects, you could not in fact choose really your partners because it had to be within the consortium, so you could not work with your usual colleagues. So that was not easy, it was really work, but I think that we really built a community. We did that across difficulties, the COVID, we all know that. We did that thanks to really hard work together and sometimes with pressing deadlines. So that really, everyone got motivated and started working together. And it was also thanks to short visits, to courses, to all our capacity building program, to annual science days and to meetings face-to-face. And I think now it takes time, took nearly 5 years, but I think it's there. I really think it's there. of course, it's very enjoyable to be part of a community, but is it useful for science? Is it really useful? Well, I think yes. I think yes, and I think yes from this experience of the AJP soil. First, for young ones, because the community provides for a supporting, benevolent environment where you can present your results to audiences that are not going to, that will be critically positive. They can develop their network. They can become engaged in collective actions. You have yesterday seen the young ones, the young scientists presenting the synthesis of the poster sessions, for example. Also, I think in research, we need, of course, to have very creative with highly advanced technology and sometimes very narrow case studies. We absolutely need that, but we also need systematic research. That is systematic stock takes, same questionnaires everywhere, systematic experiments, same protocol across a number of long-term field experiments. And so this is sometimes felt as being top-down. Of course, there's a period of negotiating together the protocols, but after, I think being part, sensing that you're part of a community, understanding the long-term goal makes you accept, okay, I will apply this protocol. It's not mine, but it's that of the group. And we need this research because this research allows to have very solid results, allows to make statements. So we definitely need to develop, to have systematic research, and for that you need an engaged community. And also a community task force, a community that is used to work together, that is convinced again of the overall goals, can be mobilized on short notice and ask as a task force. What we did to support member states in establishing their sampling schemes for the SML is just amazing, I think. So thank you, you definitely convinced me that it is worth to invest in human communities for science. And for, yes, high quality and impactful science. And for that, yes, I hope that there could be a follow-up of the AJP SOL. Again, the idea is to grow, is to embark more SOL scientists and to make our science being used, being more useful and being, yes, creative. So thanks to all of you for this.
So see you next time. And have a safe trip back home and
a good break right now.